You're listening to the Get Hunt Ready podcast with your host, Preston and Daryl Levitt. All right, guys, today we got Jason Wittwer on with us. Jason's lives actually right next door to my dad. My dad, Daryl's on with us too, but he ain't feeling too good, so he's a little incognito. He might pop in and talk to us every once in a while, but yeah, lives right next door to my dad, so I've had the opportunity to have Jason out here in Hawaii, go spearfishing, watch him take a bunch of shots and mess up my three-prong tips a little bit. Dude, I will say that out of all the people that I've taken with the three-prong Hawaiian sling there, you got the most like proper fish out of anybody I've taken for the first time. The three-prong is not an easy fish or an easy tool to use.
Yeah, dude, oh man, I'm just counting down the days to when I can go back and do that again. Like,
come on,
that
back,
was
man.
After I did that, I was like, dude, Hawaii is like I could live here for sure.
Dude, so when my wife, because my wife grew up part-time in Kauai, right? And so she'd been asking me to move to Hawaii for numerous years. And I was the same way. I'm like, I don't want to leave, the mountains and be able to get out and do all that because that I'm used to. And yeah, whenever I discovered spearfishing, like you said, when I first started, it was all at night.
Yeah.
So it was like my adrenaline was like,
sketchy.
I don't like sharks, dude. Right? Like you're in their element and stuff. And so it's like adrenaline. It was just one of those things that you get out of the water and you're like, dude, that was like takes fishing and hunting to a whole new level.
What
But I don't know if I told you or not, but we bought a spearfishing guide company and stuff here now, so we got all the setup.
Yeah, I saw that.
You have to come back out.
Yeah, next time we're out there, we're going. So
it's been fun. We've got contracted with a boat over on Kauai now, so we're going to be running like day and like full 3-day excursions out on the boat to go troll and find some spots you can't get to from the shore to go spearfish and all that stuff. We're working on some stuff here in Maui too, but of course you got permitting and all that. But yeah, dude, it's been fun.
Dude, it was a blast. That was fun. I could definitely do that every day.
Anytime.
So we'll be back.
But in the meantime, just like we were talking a little bit before we hit the record button here, you've been doing a lot of bass fishing, working on your boat, and you were just in a competition. I think I saw a couple weeks ago too.
Yeah, I like to call those I just like to donate to the people who win because I don't. I think I took like 5th place once, and that's the highest I've ever. But yeah, it's hard. The problem is it's hard to get too serious into those with my schedule, just because I take off so much time in the fall to go hunting, so I burn most of my vacation time in the fall, and so it's hard to take time off in the spring and summer for bass tournaments, just because they're just not my priority. But yeah, I've been fishing them, and man, it's I finally, living down here in the desert by Lake Mead, I finally was like, dude, I used to be a trout fisherman. It's like all I did because that's what I grew up doing. And finally, I'm like, dude, I live like right in the middle of bass fishing. Like, what am I doing? So, yeah, I ended up getting a boat, and man, like the last 2 years or so, I've just been all in, just blowing money.
I'm looking at your Instagram right now, and you got some big fish you've been pulling in.
Yeah.
So what's the story behind Hubba? Your Instagram account?
No, that's just the nickname my dad gave me, like when I was a baby. I don't know. It's always stuck. It's like my whole life growing up, throughout high school and everything, they just called me Hubba. That's what everyone called me. So it's kind of died off, when you grow up, you kind of lose nicknames sometimes. But yeah, now all my coworkers call me Llama. That's my nickname.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, guys. So Jason, he's a fireman full time in Mesquite, right? So that's what his day job is. But then in the background, like he says, it's like all he does is anything around hunting and now getting into fishing stuff. But yeah, he spent a lot of time with llamas. He's got a whole bunch of llamas. He ran a company called Backcountry Logistics for a while. I think he's said that they're kind of changing pace on what they're doing with that, but. He's involved with hunting, he's with Deep Creek Outfitters doing hunting guides in Utah and Nevada. And he's working with his brother on like some backcountry hunting meal prep stuff. So Tell us a little bit about your llamas, Jason. Right? People call you llama. How did that all start?
Um, so the first time I ever saw a llama, me, my brother, and two buddies we were backpacking into the Ruby Mountains in northern Nevada, north central. And it was freaking hot that day. It was like, the day before opening day of the bow hunt, and we're going in this trail. It's hot. We get in like a mile, and we're already just like spent. Like we got 60, 70 pound packs. It's like 90 degrees. And we look back down the trail and we see this guy coming up the trail. One guy with like, I think he had 3 llamas, and he was just leading behind. We're all like, what is this guy? Like, it was like Emperor's New Groove. So we're like laughing at him, and then we kind of just keep going. And before you know it, like he caught us and was gone, and like never even stopped. All he had on his back was like a camelback. That was it. Like the llama was carrying his bow, all of his gear. He didn't have anything. Dude wasn't even tired, and he just like blew past us and like didn't even stop and talk to us. Just like kept going. Like, oh, see ya. And we're like, dude, like we need to look into those. So we looked into getting goats, and there's things about goats that are maybe better, but I don't know. There's just certain things that kind of led us towards llamas. So yeah, we got our first llamas back. I think it was 2016. We got 2 packers. Then we ended up getting 2 more packers, and then like 3 females because we realized they were pretty tough to find. So we were like, well, we might as well breed them and make them ourselves. Then that turned into more and more and more and more and more. And then I think at some point we had like over 50. I mean, we started a rental business. We were running rentals. We had people taking them all over the West, like every state you can think of. Yeah, and it got busy to the point where it was like, okay, we either need to like jump all the way into this or we need to get out because it's getting too crazy, So we just decided to just kind of get out of the rentals. I don't know. There was a lot to it. A lot of stuff behind the scenes that most people probably wouldn't see or have any idea that goes into it. But so we kind of got out of that and just kind of focused on doing the breeding and selling them, and raising them for ourselves. So, I mean, we've cut back a lot. We've still got like over 20, but we'll pretty soon here. We're still selling a few. We'll get down to like, I don't know, 15 or so. Just kind of doing a little breeding and packing.
So how many llamas would you need as like one guy? Let's say you're going to go backcountry hunt and you got to go 20 miles into the backcountry for a week. Like how many llamas do you need? How much gear can they carry?
About 80 pounds. That's kind of the higher end. That's about the most I want to do, especially if you're going far. But they got to be in shape and everything, just like people.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it depends on the hunt. If you're going on a deer hunt, obviously you don't need as much. Just 2.
As I was gonna say, he probably had 3 to be able to pack meat back out. Yeah.
Well, if you're willing to pack anything on your own back, you can probably do 2 for a deer. Because one llama can carry an entire boned out buck. I usually figure that's about 80 pounds. Just debone, and put half on one side, half on the other. If you're gonna do an elk, like if you kill a big bull, you want at least 3 llamas just to pack the meat. I mean, if I was going on a solo elk hunt, I'd probably try and take 4 if I could. At least 3. Like 3 is a minimum for sure. But yeah, they're pretty awesome animals, man. They're low maintenance.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask. What does that look like? You get out there and you're hunting, right? Obviously, they're not following you around on the trail. You leave them at base camp. What does that look like?
just find a meadow somewhere you can stake them down, and you just take one of those. I just use those green stakes, dog stakes from Walmart, just cheap little things. Just pound it in the ground. It's got a swivel on the top, and hook a rope to it, and they just spin in a circle and eat all the grass around it, and they don't get tangled up. Like once they figure out how to use that rope, like they don't get tangled up. Like so I seriously, yeah, a horse, like you use put a horse on that, it's gonna get, it's gonna end up on the ground every single time. So yeah, I just check on them in the morning, maybe move them to a new spot that's got more grass, and a lot of times I'll go out and hunt and just don't even get back till dark. And you get back and they're just laying there chewing their cud or eating or whatever. They're just hanging out. So.
They take low amounts of water, or they get a lot of water out of the grass,
yep.
or what?
Yeah, a lot of, it obviously depends on the weather that time of year. So like last year, I took 3 llamas on a backcountry hunt in October, and it wasn't super cold or anything like that, or rainy. It was just, nice weather. And in 5 days, those 3 llamas only drank like 6 gallons. Yeah,
oh, wow.
They didn't really want to drink the water because there was, it was like cow water. It just wasn't super, super clean, but it wasn't like horrible, but sometimes they're picky. So I thought they were going to be dying. So I bring them home and give them some water, and one of them drank like a gallon. The other one drank like half a gallon. The other one didn't even drink. It's like, yeah. So they weren't dying or anything. So yeah, that alone is huge, because pretty much everywhere out here that we hunt, it's, water's pretty few and far between.
Pretty sparse.
So
yeah, man, I had no idea how popular that llamas were for all this stuff. When I was living in Colorado, I lived in Parker, Colorado for a year or so, and I had multiple neighbors just in my neighborhood, like probably 3 different neighbors that raised llamas. And I just, like I said, I didn't realize that they were that popular. But they're good for like defense and stuff too, right? Like you leave them there all day, you don't got to worry about them getting hit on by a mountain lion or anything.
Yeah. I've heard stories about some of them getting attacked by lions, but not many. But yeah, they actually, like bears and stuff, black bears, they actually do a good job of keeping them out of camp. I've hunted places with bears and with no llamas, and I've had tents just get smashed by black bears. Just, and then I've gone on those same hunts with llamas for 2 weeks and never had a single issue. So they're
is it just their presence, or do they like scream at
yeah,
them,
they have like an alarm call. So they it kind of sounds like, we call it like the velociraptor, because it's just like just an alarm call. I mean, you can look it up on YouTube. When
I'm waiting to hear.
No, I'm not gonna do it. So they yeah, they'll do that, and I think it just kind of scares the animals out of the area. So yeah, they're pretty awesome for that stuff, keeping them out, keeping things out of camp and whatnot. I'm trying to set my phone up here. Your dad's yelling at me because I'm moving it around too much. But I don't know if I can.
You're all good, man. So it sounds like you were into backcountry hunting before the llamas came into play, right? And you use them as kind of a way to ease the burden of backcountry hunting versus the opposite.
Yeah. I didn't really grow up backcountry hunting just because I'm sure it was a thing back in the day, but at least not to me it was, because I grew up hunting with my dad, and mostly in southern Nevada, and we would do a lot of hiking where we would just he'd drop us off at one road, and we'd just make a big loop all the way around, and someone would pick us up the other place. And some days we were hiking 5 miles or more probably, but it wasn't what I would call the backcountry. It was just little areas that didn't have roads. We did a lot of horseback hunting, so we just ride around on horses and just, basically try and kick up a deer. And if it was big or looked big, try and get a shot. Um, so yeah, I mean, the first like backcountry hunt I would say I did was probably like in like 2010, maybe. That was like the first trip where I remember like taking a tent and packing in. It was only 2-3 miles, but packing in and man, that's just when it kind of clicked. Like, dude, this is it. Like, you just get back in where the animals are. You don't have to, you don't have to take a bunch of crap. Like I tell people all the time, like camping, like hunting from a big camp, like on the road, is way more work than backcountry hunting. Because when you got all your gear for at home or in your camp by the road, you've got your trailer and your side by side and all the crap that goes with that, and you got to have all your cooking stuff and all your just tons and tons of crap. Versus backcountry,
Yeah.
you just got the bare essentials. I mean, you can obviously go pretty deep into that stuff, but you got to have food, shelter, water, and clothes. Like that's it. So started doing that. Yeah, and then just kind of honestly got sick of carrying heavy backpacks around. So that's kind of what led us to the llamas. Just make life a little easier, be able to take more gear.
Well, it's definitely been working out, man. I was looking at, like I said, I was looking at your Instagram page, and it's like you've got more big animals that you've been a part of on there than I've seen in my lifetime, man.
Yeah.
There's this mule deer that you've got in the bed of your Tacoma
Yeah.
here from January. Dude, that's a big.
Well, the funny thing is that was the least backcountry deer I've ever killed. I killed that. I'm not even joking when I say that buck died like 5 feet from a little 4-wheeler road. Yeah, it's just like,
That's what it is,
oh,
man.
so we just pulled the truck right up next to him and gutted him and threw him in the back. Like it was so bad that me and my two other friends were like, we hadn't gutted a deer in years because we've always done the boneless method. So we're like, dude, what do we even do? Like, where do we start? So yeah, that was a big buck, but he wasn't in the backcountry at all. But yeah,
That's funny, man. That's the same thing. I've been hunting axis deer here on Maui. They've got a big problem with axis deer. They were introduced in like the 1950s, and they've just taken over because there's no natural predators here. There's no intense weather patterns, any of that kind of stuff, and there's just vegetation like crazy. So they're not like a normal deer where they rut and only breed once
anytime of year.
They breed year round, and a doe can carry fawns twice a year. So they just populate. There's like 80,000 axis deer or something like that on Maui, and there's not a whole lot of public land to hunt them. So anyways, it's kind of a problem here. But my point is they're tiny.
Yeah.
Right? They're like 80 pounds maybe.
Yeah.
Like you shoot them to drop dead, they're 80 pounds. So same thing. It's easier just to, rip the guts out and
Yeah.
put them in a cooler and take care of it at home kind of thing. But yeah, I had me and my buddy, Hayden Wade, I had Hayden Wade out here and we went hunting last month. And it was the same thing. Hayden was like, I don't even remember how to gut a deer out, man. Like he kind of had to reteach himself because he used to just boning it all off and stuff.
Yeah, it's different, it's all different. There's no right or wrong way to do it, I don't think, as far as where to hunt. A lot of the stuff we hunt in Nevada, especially, is just, you're like, you'll be glassing like across roads and see freaking 200-inch bucks like walking across the road. And then I'm sitting there, I'm like, why do I hike 8 miles into the backcountry sometimes when they're right here on the road? But it's all different. I like it all. It's just different ways to skin a cat.
All part of the experience. And it's sometimes it's, even if you don't shoot as big of a deer, if you're out there, just trophy hunting, it's all the work and the prep that went into it that makes it more rewarding.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, That's where you kill big bucks, is all the prep work that goes into it. You don't just, you can luck into them,
Right.
but you got to work hard before, just at least be consistent at killing them. It's like I heard someone
Yeah,
say,
for sure.
anyone can kill a big buck once, but it takes, you got to know what you're doing to kill two or three or more. Um,
So what does that look like, right? So like we were talking before this with Hunt Ready and the app and stuff that we've got. That's the idea, is that we want to help educate people on what does it take if you're trophy hunting. What does it take to consistently kill big bucks? Like I said, my mindset has changed a little bit as far as hunting here in Hawaii, just because it's a big problem here. It's like destroying the land and the reefs, and I do a lot of spearfishing stuff. So I'm just out there just to harvest deer, right? I'm not really like trophy
yeah.
hunting here, but it's different wherever you're at, right? And everybody's got their different motives and stuff. But no matter what your motive is, there's preparation that has to happen, over years, or sometimes, there's a couple of things that it's over just a few weeks before your actual hunt happens, right? And that's what we want to do is at Hunt Ready, is make sure that we're educating people on what are the things that you need to focus on to be able to prepare yourself and to be hunt ready at any time. So just as you mentioned, it takes stuff behind the scenes, and it takes a lot of predetermination to go through and be able to effectively hunt big deer and big elk and other big game. What would you say is like one of the top things that you would suggest you got to do to make sure that you can prepare yourself for a hunt like that?
Um, for me, it's honestly just boots on the ground. I mean, there's so many things you can do before that, obviously, as far as like e-scouting and all that stuff, that everyone talks about. And you can do, whatever. But when it all comes down to it, you got to be out there and you got to put in the time. I think the number one thing needed to kill like a big deer or bull, other than some luck, is time. Like, um, you just most of the time, these people, you can't just show up and kill a big animal like, within the first day. Sometimes it takes 5, 6, a week, 10 days or whatever. Um, so for me, the biggest thing to be able to accomplish that is just boots on the ground, get out, scout it, and just get out there and figure it out, so that when the time comes to actually hunt, you can, cut out, the however many days you would be wasting trying to figure things out. So if I'm going to like a new area, I remember I started hunting a unit in Utah. I started hunting it way back, I don't know, 10 years ago, honestly, at this point. So it was the first time I'd really hunted it, and I didn't know where to even start. I mean, I guess we'd hunted it when I was younger, but we just kind of hunted the low country stuff, desert stuff that the deer kind of migrated into, just because that's kind of what my dad knew. But I wanted to start hunting a different part of the area, so I just started going. Like, I was in college, I went and did an overnight trip pretty much every week. I'd hike in 5 miles, just honestly, just hike everywhere and anywhere, just like go. I'm like, I'm just going to go and figure it out. And pretty soon he started narrowing down, like, okay, this is where you need to be. This is where the deer are and all that. And if I hadn't have been doing that, there's just, I probably would have maybe tried it once on a hunt and gone in there and failed and been done, or tried a different,
Yeah.
different.
And then you're like, oh, that area doesn't have
Yeah.
deer in it or whatever, right?
Yeah. But, putting in the time, it's like, geez, like, this place is awesome. Like, not many people know about it. There's a lot of big deer or elk or whatever you're trying to hunt. I don't think there's anything that is better than just being out there and doing it. It all looks so different trying to scout it online, e-scouting it. It's just, you look at it on Google Earth or whatever, and you can kind of get an idea. But as soon as you get out there, it's like it's not even the same place. You're like, I don't even know what this is. So you got to get out there, and you know, see it firsthand and get a feel for actually what's going on. For me, that's it. I don't think it's as complicated as people make it sound sometimes. Just you get out there and put in the time, and you'll be successful if you put in the time and get out there. And sometimes it takes a while. You got to keep looking around, but it'll pay off eventually.
And like you said, like that's the best way to learn and to, I worked for a long time in like the consulting and education space, right? And I always had people trying to shortcut how to be successful with, whatever business that we were talking about. And you get the same type of thing. I remember growing up, a couple of individuals that they had never hunted, and they're like, older than I was, but they would be like, oh man, I read this book and I watched this YouTube video. I did all this stuff. Like I know how to hunt. And then you get out in there with them, and it's like you said, it's a totally different thing. Just getting out, every area is different, every situation's different, and the more you get out there, the more experience you've got, and the better it is for you to be able to navigate and make judgment calls while you're out in the field.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I like just another side thing to that, I guess. This goes more towards like clients that I guide, but it applies to everyone. And honestly, like the number one thing when it all comes down to it, whether you're going to be successful or not, is if you can shoot. And it sounds stupid. Like people always ask like, oh, I'm getting in shape and all this, which is obviously important. You got to be in shape, and you got to, if you're out of shape, it's way harder to be successful. You get burnt out quicker. You start sleeping in. You don't want to get out of.
And it's harder to shoot, man. You go huffing up the hill to get over the ridge to go shoot, and a deer's 30 yards away from you, and you're breathing too hard. You can't even hold steady.
So I think things like just being in shape and all that. It's just like obviously you gotta be in shape, especially if you're gonna be hunting out here in the mountains and stuff. But when it comes down to it, like what it all comes down to is making a shot, and so many people I think put a focus on other things. But when it comes down to it, like that shot is what matters. So like whether it's shooting your bow or your rifle or whatever, like you need to be out there putting in the reps. Some people, it maybe comes more natural. Like you get in the moment and you don't freak out as much. There's going to be some, level of, buck fever or whatever you want to call it. But, you gotta put in the time and shoot. And if you just like, if you got a buck there at 40 yards and if you've made that shot 1,000 times during the preseason, when you pull back to shoot, like you're going to have way more confidence that this thing is going to hit where I want it to hit. Versus if you only shot your bow 40 times all summer and you're like, yeah, it's pretty good. Like you're going to be a little more stressed out when that time comes. You're probably going to make a bad shot, and miss it, or worse, wound it. That's what it comes down to for me, is just putting in the time, boots on the ground, get them figured out, and putting in the time for shooting and all that.
I laugh at that because with spearfishing, I've hunted my whole life, right? Just been spearfishing the last like year and a half. And my main thing was like, I got to learn how to hold my breath, right? Because like you're hunting now, but you got to hold your breath for a couple minutes to be able to get some good fish come into you. And I never really thought about target practice. Like, the water is going to, distort how things look, and you're wearing goggles, which distorts and magnifies and all this stuff. So it makes things, it's different than just shooting a bow or a rifle out of the water, right? Anyways, I just laughed because literally this last week, I got down, I was sitting on the bottom. I was down there for a good minute and a half and calling some fish in. and I had these. They're called an emilu. They're like a Jack Trevally fish. They're kind of like a prize game
Yeah.
fish out here. And I had 4 of them come right in like 10 feet from me. Perfect shot, lined up, and I shot and freaking missed.
Just all for nothing.
Just like you said, man, I did all the work to be able to hold my breath and be able to swim and understand how to sneak in, how to call, and like I had all that down, but it's all for naught, right? If I can't,
yeah,
really
like
straight.
Things like, clothes and boots and, pack, like all that crap, you can work around that stuff. Like, you don't have to have the best things. Yeah. They help, obviously. Like, you don't want to have crappy gear, and but yeah, like that's what it comes down to when you're hunting. So I think that needs to be one of your biggest focuses when it comes to that for being successful.
Yeah. And I think there's lots of opportunities out there today. You and I were talking about another thing that Jason and his brother have are these backpack logistics pre-packed meals that now you can focus more time and energy on making sure that you do have, time to go out into the hills and time to practice shoot and all that kind of stuff. Because you don't have to worry about, what gear do I have to get? What do I have to pack? How do I, do my meal prep and all that kind of stuff? So there's lots of different tools and resources out there that can kind of mitigate those things that are like, yeah, you can work around that, right? Like you need to, there's these things that you need to focus on, get your health in shape and be able to shoot straight and that kind of stuff. But you can kind of work around some of these other stuff. So, with that said, man, just in closing here, I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate all your experience and insight and all that kind of stuff. You've been doing this a while. If anybody wants to reach out with any questions, if you're open to it, if you've got a spot they can reach out to you, go ahead and let us know what that is here. And then, like you said, if you want to talk a little bit more about that backpack logistics, let's go ahead and throw that in.
Yeah, I mean, my Instagram is hubba_3. Like we were talking about it before, it's just the nickname that my dad gave me, when I was
got to change it to Llama.
Yeah, I need to change it to Llama 3. So, that's my page. And then the backpack logistics, like you said, I'm not even sure what that Instagram is. I think it's backpack_logistics, probably.
It's just backpack logistics.
Yep. Just shows you how much I know. It's just a simple place to go and just create your backpack meals for the day. You pick all your breakfast, lunch, dinner, all that, snacks, energy, drink. We even have Monsters on there. So we got Monsters and Snickers, and for people who got, problems like me.
I thought it was interesting when you were telling me about that, man. So you go through, and on their backpack logistics, you go through and you're meal prepping for, you're going to go on a 5-day hunt or whatever. You go through and say, okay, here's breakfast for day 1, lunch for day, and here's snacks that come in between. But you said that it goes through and it's going to count all your calories and all that kind of stuff as well. I'm a type 1 diabetic, so that stuff's really important to me whenever I'm going out hunting and going to be away from my usual assets and resources, right? Like I have to know how much carbs that I have and that I have certain types of sugars and calorie intake and all that kind of stuff. So the fact that it goes through and does that for you is pretty awesome.
Yeah, and like a lot of times I used to go on these hunts and I didn't even know how many calories I was eating per day. Like it was just the only thing I knew how many calories I was eating is like my mountain house because it said on the back. Other than that, like there was no tracking. There was no way of, I was just like scooping up a scoop of granola, trail mix and putting it in a bag, or just a bunch of just random crap. Or even worse, it started getting to the point where I was so lazy that I'd go to Walmart and buy like the bag of trail mix. And I instead of divvying it out into each day, I just take the whole freaking bag and put it in my backpack. And then you're on a 7-day hunt. And by day 5, you already ate all your trail mix because, it wasn't divvied out. You're just eating it out of the bag. So by the end, you're just like, you're kind of screwing yourself as far as, oh, hi, Chrissy. My dog just showed up. You're kind of, causing problems. So we just made a way so you can track how many calories and macros and how many calories per ounce are going into each day's worth of food. And you can create as many days as you want. so that you're planned out for the whole, for the whole hunt, and you don't have to worry about eating too much or too little. You already know how much you're going to take in, and you just eat whatever's in that bag for that day and eat the next one tomorrow and so on. So yeah.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, I think it's a good idea. So yeah, if you guys got any questions on llamas, Jason's the guy with llamas. He's got a bunch of backcountry experience, all that kind of stuff. So you can hit him up on Instagram. And otherwise, again, man, we really appreciate you coming out. Some great insight and advice on people that are either veterans at hunting or might just be getting into it. I feel like it's becoming more and more popular thing these days for people wanting to be able to source their own food and know where it's coming from and all that kind of stuff. So this information is super valuable to them. So
yeah, definitely more people getting into it. That's pretty obvious by the way the drawing odds are going. It's getting tough to draw.
When I moved out, that was one of my biggest mistakes, moving out of Nevada, and I don't have residency there. I've got like 16 elk points and like I think I got 12 mule deer points at this point. It's like being out of state now. I get one chance, one tag in every area that I put in for, but it's all good. Like I said, hunting access deer out here is like shooting rabbits, man, because they're everywhere. If you can get access to private land, I can shoot 1,000 deer a night and have no limitation on it. It's like super good meat.
I've heard that.
I'll have to take you when you come back out.
Yeah, I've heard the meat's pretty awesome. Yeah, that'd be fun. I'd go out.
You said they're not pumping adrenaline or anything. They don't got any natural predators and stuff, so they're super lean.
I'm down to do some, herd control.
Let's do it. I just got some permitting for some exactly that, going out and doing some wildlife management control at one of the wildlife sanctuaries here, and then I just got access to a couple 100 acres of private land to be able to go hunt too. So come on out, man.
Sweet, man. Yeah, we'll be coming out. I don't know when, but in the next year, hopefully. I want to make it an annual thing after hunting season's done in December or January. Come out, because it's a nice break, because the hunting season, man, it's a lot of work. Like by the end, I'm like, oh man, I'm ready for a vacation. But about a month later, I'm ready to go again. So yeah,
ready to go again. That don't last too long.
Thankfully.
Okay. All right, man. Thanks again.
All right, sounds good.
Appreciate it.